Welcome to TheoTRADE. This is Don Kaufman. It's April 2nd, 2025. Just about an hour after the cash close here on this Wednesday afternoon. Look, what do you say about this marketplace? It's whiplash. Look, we're going to explain that some of the single largest point moves ever were seen in a matter of seconds right here inside of the NASDAQ, even sparking what we term velocity logic, both in the NASDAQ and in the S&Ps. Some of you may have seen that. Some of you have no idea what velocity logic even is, but we're going to break down quite a bit here, of course, in this TheoTRADE evening update. Let's get right down to it. As I was saying, this marketplace is, there's whiplash in here. So there was a high achieved shortly after Trump started speaking. And clearly, I tried to wait like just about an hour before kind of trying to record this, knowing, of course, that the Trump administration was going to be speaking today. He's still speaking, but nevertheless, I think that some of the initial move is possibly over. The point, though, that I wanted to get to right off the bat is this is not about like mispricing this or mispricing that. Look, at this point in time, I don't care what anybody says, at this point in time, we are still inside of the expected move for the week, both in the NASDAQ and in the S&Ps. And what I want to elaborate on before I even go into detail about the NASDAQ, okay, or velocity logic here, is when I say that we're inside the expected move, okay, effectively, this is where the week started, okay? We had this huge bid under the marketplace today that just, look, you're trading, 56.70. This is easy. Just subtract like, 90 handles from that. Where does it take you back to? I mean, roughly speaking, kind of where the week started. So at this point, let's not get crazy, but in the S&Ps, at this point, we're massively unchanged on the week. Granted, in the overnight trade, things could get a little bit nutty. Okay, how nutty? I'm going to tell you right now. You got to get all the way down, and this isn't the SPX. You got to get down to 54.35 for us to break the lower edge of the expected move. Even though we're looking at this, we're like, it's whiplash. It's not unprecedented. The only thing unprecedented, okay, is simply the point for point move inside of the NASDAQ, which is, we're trading just after Trump started speaking at 20,044. And a few moments later, we're trading, 19,076. That's right. It is a 1,000-point move. And inside of this, okay, if you look actually really carefully, the time signatures, okay, were kind of getting messed up, and you can see volume was like, completely dissipated, and you're like, oh, what happened to that minute? There was velocity logic, and what that means, okay, for those of you that have no idea, you can see this volume candle, it's like non-existent. The market sold off so substantially and so quickly that the algos kicked in, and this is by design. By the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, by design, okay? They have an algorithm that actually, they call it velocity logic. It slows the marketplace down. And some people are like, what happened? The market's halted. Okay, it literally stopped the marketplace. Hold, release. Okay, and you can see then a surge of volume thereafter. All it does is slows things down temporarily. We saw it both in the NASDAQ and we saw it in the S&Ps. And the only reason that I'm pointing this out to you is to give you a feel of, yeah, that got serious. And it got serious in a hurry. Now we've, the repricing came and now we've stabilized. Overnight trade, though, it's just going to be downright wild. Okay, I don't mind saying this, like the volume that we're accumulating right now, it's still for today. They're going to reset, obviously, everything in a couple of moments, and then they reopen the S&Ps, and the volume will, completely reset. But you got to anticipate that this is going to be a long night. The reason you want to anticipate that, because there's going to be retaliation. right, to all of this tariffs. And look, I don't want to sit here and talk, okay, till I'm blue in the face and basically reiterate what every news broadcast is reiterating. We are going to put a tariff of 30-something% here. Japan is 24%. Taiwan, like, forget it. Seriously, forget it. At this point, it's going to be about retaliation. It's going to be, what are some of these sovereignties going to do? Okay. Moreover, how are the marketplaces going to react around the world? Because markets around the world, what are they going to do? They're going to flood into the U.S. bonds. Okay. Are they actually going to love the dollar? Are they going to hate the dollar? Because right now, okay, this is what I'm talking about with Whiplash. You know, the theme of tonight's video is called Whiplash. It's not just about the S&Ps. Look at the dollar. We don't have no freaking idea how that's actually going to play out, which is going to leave you right on the edge of your seat. But again, nothing outside of the bounds of impossibility has happened just yet. As I said to you guys, you know, in the SPX terms, we're unchanged on the week. You know, call me, you know, when we actually crack the lower edge of the expected move, like, holy crap, you know, you're up 80, 90 handles in the week and all of a sudden you're at the lower edge of the expected move. Now that's getting crazy. I do want to show you something, though, that could get close overnight. Look at the expected moves specific to the NASDAQ. And I'm actually using the NASDAQ futures and auto expected moves, but the NASDAQ here cracked the upside of its expected move, okay, reversed, and is about a little more than halfway home to the lower edge of the expected move. But this is where I'm saying, like, yes, the single, like, you know, hour move is wild. There's no doubt about it. But the move overall this week is not unprecedented, okay? And it's important because we haven't moved outside of a statistical norm. The marketplace just bid up, sold back off. Now, let's start to break down the NASDAQ a little bit deeper here. For that, I'm actually going to cruise over to a 30-day 1-hour chart, okay? And on this 30-day 1-hour chart, I also want to come in here and do what's called adjust for contract changes. Hit apply, hit OK. Okay. And as I start to zoom in over here, I want you to see we have not cracked, okay, into new lows from Monday. And one of the things I talked about in the weekend update is, hands down, I told you we're going to crack into new lows. Okay. We didn't wait. We cracked new lows on Monday. Where we're sitting right now, this does not look good. It doesn't look good. And the reason it doesn't look good when I'm talking about like new lows and so forth, doesn't look good because the volatility, okay, hasn't even cracked where it was on Monday. So we're in a rough spot right now. Volatility could actually go like parabolic in an overnight trade, and things could get nutty inside of the S&Ps. Just so you guys know, like, people are going to ask about, you know, crazy stuff like circuit breakers and so forth in overnight trade. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, the marketplace now just officially locked them down. They lock them down for an hour now, reset everything, and they'll reopen in about an hour. But, and this is important, okay, there's not going to be like any type of like halt trading, anything like that. People are always worried about that. But overnight, okay, you have to have a 7% move for a limit down event. The 7% move, okay, the 7% move is a limit down event. Evidently, we are absolutely nowhere near, okay, any 7% move. So just be mindful of that whatever happens overnight, it's going to happen. So if we're going to crack through some of those Monday lows, okay, it's on at that point. That's plain and simple. Now, speaking of volatility, the volatility, okay, shot, you know, from being flat back into a pretty heavy backwardation. This is just confirming some of the risk on the screen, okay. A little bit also of the alarming portion of this move, not just volatility, but start to look at products like NVIDIA hitting 106. Okay. And the reason I want to bring up NVIDIA in the 106 level, NVIDIA is actually cracking into new lows that have not been seen since all the way back here in September. Okay. So some new lows that are going to be hit in NVIDIA, 105, 106. I would not be the least bit surprised to see NVIDIA trading 100. Okay, possibly tomorrow or on Friday. Same thing is going to be, okay, if you take a look at something like Broadcom, people, this is going to damage the marketplace because Broadcom, if you're unfamiliar with this, look, there's huge exposure, overseas exposure here. Whatever has some of the biggest exposure, okay, is going to get rocked the most. But, you know, you can make the argument, you know, even Microsoft's down big. Okay, Apple, okay, just completely fell apart over here along with the NASDAQ. This is one of the leading edge of sell side activity. And yeah, I am showing you, okay, some of the monsters of tech out there. But how's something like the financials going to react? And the answer is, okay, not well either. I mean, everything reversed. The one bright spot over here is that the marketplace in this kind of wild whiplash of trade is actually correlating. This is seeing correlation. So where does this actually leave us? You know, it's great. I can look around, you know, the horn until we're blue in the face, but where does this actually leave us? In an incredibly difficult overnight position, okay? Again, from my estimation, based on what I've seen thus far, and believe me, I haven't seen everything yet in terms of what the tariffs are, okay? I believe we're probably going to see some degree of retaliation, possibly from the EU, okay? Other sovereignties, yeah, on your own. You know, Vietnam might retaliate with some of this, but the bottom line is, I think you're going to see some retaliation. It's just how bad, okay, is the trade war going to effectively get? The other aspect that's really now going to resonate, push tariff aside for a second, okay, and any type of retaliation. Obviously, the markets are going to be left to their imagination throughout the course of the evening. And I know the S&P's closed down 90, but this is where, again, things could get wild tonight, which you really got to look out for outside of any retaliation, which would come as early as tomorrow, okay, but the jobs report into Friday morning. Because now, okay, you have this just wild double-edged sword. Nobody's going to be worried about inflation. Now they're going to look at the jobs report in a completely different manner. Now they're going to look at it. That jobs report comes in a little bit soft, okay? It's going to be wildly deflationary, okay? And that could actually be some panic at the disco. So you got to be mindful of it. And look, don't just take my word for it. I want to take you over to the SPX. And the SPX, the entire week, was expecting a $144 move. So all 5 days are expecting this $144 move, okay? You still have almost 120 of that left. So the volatility in just the next 2 trading sessions, you're trading in the equivalency of like almost a 35 to 36 VIX. So this is a time where you got to understand, you keep that helmet on. Things are going to get a little crazier before they actually start to calm down. The only positive that you see on the screen right now, okay, with this, you know, wild expected move, another 120 point plus move that's implied from this point on, right? The only positive in here is that we're starting to correlate. Okay, this is not correlation. What I just showed you, and the reason I went around the horn and I showed you like, oh, look at the exposure to Google. Oh, look at the exposure to Tesla. Oh, look at the exposure to Meta. The reason I took you around the horn is to show you everything fell, okay, with those S&P futures. Everything fell with the NASDAQ. And higher degrees of correlation is going to take you, okay, infinitely closer to finding a bottom, to capitulation. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here at TheoTRADE. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.